Hello everyone.
Congratulations on being accepted onto the JET program. My name's Jay Phillips and I come from the Sunshine Coast in Australia. I was a CIR for 2 years in Fukushima prefecture before becoming a program coordinator at Clare.
My name's Josh Shelton and I come from Oklahoma in the United States. Before becoming a program coordinator, I lived for 3 years in Ibaraki prefecture as an ALT.
With this video, we hope, both as Clare staff and as former JETs, to give you a better idea before your departure about living in Japan. Today, we'll show you several current JETs living in various areas of Japan, so that you can gain some useful insight and advice.
Jay, what's that in your hand?
This is the General Information Handbook. It may be a bit heavy and bulky, but the GIH is an invaluable source of information for JETs living in Japan. Make sure you read it thoroughly before you arrive in Tokyo, and keep it handy as you watch this video.
So, without further ado,
let's get started.
July, the month for the JET program to begin, and many participants are arriving at Narita International Airport.
Back in Japan!
I'm excited to be in Japan.
Very excited.
Well, they all look cheerful and are not showing fatigue from their long journey. But they all have so much luggage. Please note that the luggage you can take to the orientation venue is only 1 suitcase and 1 item of hand luggage. You're requested to send other luggage to your contracting organisation from the airport. Someone's even brought a bicycle. And what's this huge thing? Some kind of furniture? We understand you want to come fully equipped just in case, but having too much stuff will make it difficult for you to move around smoothly. What often happens is that many things brought from home end up not being used or are readily available in Japan. It's important to figure out in advance what you will bring with you. You will, of course, need casual summer clothes for walking around and business attire for your workplace and orientations. If you're an ALT, you may want to prepare your own teaching materials in advance. And don't forget your General Information Handbook, GIH, which will prove very useful in many ways. Another important thing is money. Note that you won't have time to exchange currency at Narita Airport because you'll be heading to the orientation venue in Tokyo immediately after landing. To make you feel more secure, we'd recommend you to bring about 30,000 yen in cash with you for immediate use, plus about 200,000 yen for initial living expenses. In other words, start your jet life comfortably by making light yet careful preparations.
Ah, that takes you back, doesn't it? The anticipation, the excitement.
the summer heat and lugging 4 million pounds of luggage through it all, just to realize that 95% of it is stuff you could have easily bought in Japan.
For those things which you aren't going to need right away, you can either send them before you leave to your contracting organisation, check with them first of course, or have someone send them to you later.
So, is there anything jets shouldn't bring with them?
Definitely. Drugs, firearms, knives, and other dangerous items are strictly prohibited. Japan is particularly severe towards drugs.
So don't even think about it.
The schedule. Okay, so we go back tonight.
After you arrive at Narita, you are guided to a bus right away. It takes about 2 hours to get to the hotel in Tokyo, which is the venue for the orientation. During the ride, you'll be given lots of information, including your schedule for the following day. Two full days are spent at Tokyo orientation, starting the morning after arrival. Current jets from all over the country participate as volunteers to provide you with first-hand information about the jet program.
If you can.
Or Niigata and Nagano.
Yeah,
so you're great.
So I'm okay where
You're
I am.
okay.
There are 6,000 participants from about 40 countries on the jet program, making this one of the world's largest international exchange programs.
I'm actually very impressed with how many people are here. I didn't know how big the jet program was going to be. And To hear that there are 6,000 jets in Japan is quite amazing, really.
Bento.
Various workshops are provided at the orientation. This is a Japanese language seminar where you can learn some basic daily conversation for immediate use. And there is also an etiquette seminar where you can learn about greetings and the exchange of business cards.
You are to receive the card with both hands.
You're welcome to ask questions about anything weighing on your mind. Current jets will do their best to provide answers based on their own experience.
What if you just bring inside shoes for the school? Is that okay?
Yeah, if you bring shoes that you wear exclusively inside in the school, then that's fine.
On your 4th day after arriving in Japan, the day after Tokyo orientation finishes, it's time to go to your new home in Japan.
As contracting organizations are literally scattered all throughout Japan, we'll show you 7 different people in 7 different regions of Japan to help you get a better idea of what your area might be like.
Japan has a very thorough transportation system of trains, planes and buses, and it's very easy to get around.
And traveling around Japan is pretty interesting too. Japan has an image of being small and homogeneous. However, as you travel, you'll realize that each area has its own unique dialects and cultures. Let's be a fly on the wall as new ALT Jeremy Marks from New Zealand discovers his new home in Gunma Prefecture.
On board the bus heading towards Gunma Prefecture, the music is being provided by Jeremy Marks, who has been assigned to Misato Town.
My name is Jeremy Marks. I'm from Tauranga, New Zealand. I'd like to come over here and experience Japanese life. Misato Machi, I don't really know what it looks like or anything, but yeah, I bet it's nice. Yeah.
At the welcome reception organised by the prefectural office, you'll get to meet current jets and your Japanese supervisor from the city or town you've been assigned to. Welcoming Jeremy are Ms. Kobayashi from the Misato Town Board of Education and Amanda, a current jet. They immediately head towards Misato Town, where Jeremy will be living. This is the Misato Town Hall. The first thing you have to do is register as a foreign resident at your local government office. Don't worry about being confused about unfamiliar procedures. You'll be helped by a Japanese supervisor or a current jet. A personal seal is normally used in Japan for this kind of procedure. As in Jeremy's case, your personal seal will usually have been prepared for you in advance. It functions as your official signature, so you should look after it carefully.
That's you.
Oh, that's good.
Next, you have to sign your work contract. Details vary depending on the organisation you belong to, so please check it carefully.
Remember from New Zealand.
I'm signing here. And I'm signing here.
Now your life as an ALT can begin. This is the apartment Jeremy will be living in. In terms of rent, size and facilities, the housing provided for new jets will vary depending on the area. In many cases, the contracting organisation will have prepared a place in advance. But please remember that if you don't like it and have to find another one yourself, you will need money to cover the cost of moving, the housing deposit and so on. Public utilities systems, including the supply of water, gas and electricity, are fully developed in all parts of Japan, and the procedures for initiating their use are generally completed by the time of your arrival. Please consult your supervisor if for any reason you have to undertake these procedures yourself.
So that's how to use the rice cooker.
Okay. It's a lot bigger than I thought it would be. You know, we were told we might be in a tiny little apartment, but this is good size. Yeah, it's nice. And the girl who used to live here, she's left me all the stuff, you know, all the instructions for how to work everything, so I'm pretty sorted.
Looks like Jeremy's accommodations were all prepared for him.
Housing arrangements aren't always organised beforehand. Often this is handled after the jet arrives, and how much the jet may need to pay varies greatly.
Jay, did you have a phone line set up when you arrived?
No, this is the responsibility of the jet. It may be beneficial to ask a Japanese friend or co-worker to help them with the paperwork. Lately, the number of jets who are using mobile phones as opposed to home phones is increasing.
A phone line does make it easier to stay connected with friends and family back home via email.
There are lots of companies that offer phone plans and internet plans, so it's a good idea to ask around and find out what people recommend.
Most people pay for these services by transferring money from a bank or postal account. This can be confusing, however, so get someone to help you.
Besides banks, Japanese financial organizations include credit unions, post offices, and Japan agricultural cooperatives. Papers for the relevant procedures are normally prepared ready for signing upon arrival. Your salary is paid directly into your designated bank account. Most financial organizations offer an ATM service, but you should note that operating hours may differ depending on the location.
It is true that you should make sure you take out enough money if you plan to go out in the evening. However, recently the bigger 24-hour chain convenience stores have started including ATMs in them.
So, what happened to Jeremy after he got settled into his apartment?
Let's take a look.
It's dusk. After finishing the procedures at the town hall, Jeremy heads to the next town with Amanda. A welcome party has been arranged tonight for the new jets. Attending the party are local English teachers and other jets. Amanda showed Jeremy around today. So what kind of things has she taught him so far?
Today I showed him the basic geography of the town where we live, and I taught him how to catch the bus, and then I taught him how to have a good first night at a Japanese izakaya. Don't worry, everything will be fine when you get here. Just have a positive attitude and everything will be fine.
Yeah, well, I guess I should be tired, but I'm not. I don't know, because I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just glad to finally get to Misato and get to my apartment. But it's been a good day.
And that's how Jeremy spent his 4th day in Japan.
He seems pretty happy, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll have no problem settling into his community. By the way, Josh, do you remember your first night in Japan?
I sure do. I remember wondering if I could handle all the challenges and culture shock that I knew were waiting for me. I'm sure every jet feels this way at first, but it gets better.
One of the main concerns jets have is money. Let's take a look at 2 examples of daily expenditure. The first chart shows a jet who lives in a small, rural town.
Wow, an entire house for only 30,000 yen a month. Living in the country sure has benefits.
But look at how much he spends on his car. Petrol isn't cheap in Japan. Now, let's take a look at a jet who lives in a medium-sized city.
Food doesn't seem to take up much of their money.
That's because this person cooks at home most of the time. Keep in mind that these are just examples, and that every jet's expenditure will be different.
But the point we want to make is that the jet salary is more than enough to live on comfortably in Japan. So Jay, let's talk life post-Tokyo orientation.
About a week after you arrive at your contracting organisation and start settling in, your prefecture will hold a post-arrival orientation for new jets. This is a great opportunity for you to meet the other jets in your area.
It's also a great opportunity for you to ask all the silly and not so silly questions you've accumulated during your first week.
The prefectural orientation provides a lot of concrete advice regarding local life.
Just be on your best behavior, and it's a Japanese office building, so...
It pays for 70%.
Jeremy is there amongst the many participants.
In your apartment somewhere where a friend could find it.
This is the National Health Insurance Certificate that you need for visits to doctors or hospitals.
And you never know.
Current jets provide useful information on daily life from a variety of angles, including an explanation of how to recognize and buy daily necessities, such as washing detergent. Prefectural supervisors also make it their policy to concentrate on conducting a practical orientation.
This orientation is organized by the current second and third year jets only. So it's based on their own experience, which I believe is useful for the newcomers.
It's good to see a lot of other jets who have a lot more experience and just have more information on the day-to-day things that are not necessarily how things run, even though, you know, the jet handbook might say something or the supervisor might say something, but the actual orientation provides good hands-on day-to-day answers.
Next, we'd like to introduce you to the primary workplace of the ALT, the Japanese school. In Japan, compulsory education starts at elementary school and ends with graduation from junior high school. However, most students go on to high school. English education begins at junior high school, so most ALTs are placed in either junior highs or high schools.
Ah, but these days, an increasing number of elementary schools are offering English to their students, and as such, an increasing number of ALTs are visiting elementary schools. I myself was periodically asked to visit elementary schools.
The Japanese school year begins in April, so when new jets arrive in late July and August, the students are on summer holidays. Josh, how did you spend your first month in Japan?
Well, besides the nervousness and anxiety that didn't go away until after I started teaching and got a grasp of what my job was really about, I think my first month was pretty enjoyable. I was able to walk around my neighborhood, find out where the closest supermarket, laundromat, drugstore, hospital were. To be totally honest, I assumed that summer recess meant ALT recess too, but no, that wasn't the case.
A lot of jets have the impression that just because school is out for the summer, that there's no work for them to do. Let's take a look at a few examples of how jets spend their summer months.
First, we'll look at Meisi in Gunma Prefecture.
Then we'll look at Su in Shiga Prefecture.
In August, when you arrive, the Japanese schools are on summer holiday. But that only means for the children. The teachers are busy working to prepare for the new term. Macy Edwards, a new ALT for this junior high school, is also at school every day. In fact, this period is the key to ensuring whether your work will be successful or not.
Okay, so I could say, how was your vacation? How was your summer?
It's important to use it to communicate with the Japanese teacher of English, or JTE, your teaching partner, and start getting involved in school life generally.
I'm working on it. It's not done. What we're known for.
Macy asked Mr. Takahashi, her colleague, to teach her how to deal with the lessons and students so that she could make sure about her exact teaching role. She also discusses with him how to use the teaching material she's prepared.
Is that okay? Right.
Let's hear what Macy thinks about getting started during summer holiday before actual lessons begin.
It's a good situation because we get a chance to get used to the school before the students are actually here.
it would have been much harder to put ALTs right into class. So you get to see the students and be around them without actually having to start teaching. So it's a great warm-up to being in the school.
It's now September. The new term begins, and so does Macy's work as an ALT.
Excited. 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 Excited.
Okay.
Harry Potter.
A lesson carried out together by a JTE and an ALT is called team teaching.
Made me excited
The
too.
JTE generally introduces the lesson and summarizes important points, while the ALT teaches English pronunciation and actual usage.
Harry Potter didn't make me excited. It made me laugh. Sorry. Good job.
Bringing life to the lessons and encouraging the students to want to learn depends on close teamwork and proper preparation. Macy has prepared her lesson thoroughly, and she looks confident as she teaches the children.
Today's class went really well. Yeah, the students were getting involved, and if you get them laughing and talking, then it usually means it's going well. The more preparation you have, the better your class goes. The more you talk to the JTE, the better your class is going to go. If you have a 10-minute session, your class isn't going to work. Yeah, you got to talk to them. Yeah, yeah.
Macy also values the time she spends with students outside the lessons. In particular, lunchtime and cleaning provide good opportunities to get closer to them. So please be positive about getting to know your students better.
Could someone shut the window, please? See you tomorrow.
See you.
Tomorrow, yeah, cool.
明るくて、いろいろ話しかけてくれるので、もう分かりやすいです。
いつも明るくて一緒にいると楽しいです。
So how do current Jets spend their summer holiday? The town of Shiga in Shiga prefecture, with a population of 23,000, is located on Lake Biwa, the largest lake in Japan. Sue Byland, a second-year ALT, has been assigned a new role this summer. She's been asked to coach some students who are going to participate in an English speech contest. She helps them with their pronunciation, intonation, and natural English expression.
So the first sound is the, te, ti. Which is the
Many speech contests are held in Japan to improve the English ability of students. And the summer holiday is used for special training for the contests held in the autumn. It's a perfect chance for ALTs to show their skill.
Our main activities are, for example, a campaign to raise funds.
Sue is coaching Yukiko Nishiboshi, a second-grade junior high school student. ALTs play a very important role, not only in giving students some technical guidance, but also in encouraging them to be motivated and gain confidence.
More. And then more. Okay.
Practice continues through the summer holiday for the October contest.
They call it summer vacation, but really there's no vacation about it.
Naturally, once school starts in September, you'll be busy with your regular classes and clubs, and you may not have time to do those other work-related projects that you're wanting to do. The summer months are a perfect time to do these. Now, let's take a look at a day in the life of a third-year ALT from England, Jonathan Leonard.
Yanagida in Ishikawa prefecture is a farming village with a population of 4,500. A typical day for Jonathan begins with reading the paper and watching television as he takes a light breakfast. He's now very used to living in Japan, and he can really relax at home. But when he heads to school, he changes into a completely different mode.
I've always worn a shirt and tie because all the other teachers do. And the truth is, jets have different viewpoints perhaps, but if you want to be taken seriously in the school and have an impact on the English department and things that are happening within the school with regard to English, then I would always recommend you looking like a teacher.
At Japanese schools, the day begins with a meeting for all the teachers called the chore.
"90% of what is said I never understand. So it's just my only role is to stand up and say "Ohayo gozaimasu," good morning, and then sit down and try and listen. So it's a very good idea after the teachers' meeting always to go and see your supervisor, which I will do in a minute, and ask, is there anything that was brought out in the meeting that I need to know?
Jonathan uses handmade props in his lessons.
There is a role play.
He always tries to work out various ideas so that everybody, including those students who are shy or not so proficient, can enjoy English in a positive way.
Okay, McJohn's. Yeah, large or small?
Large.
Large. Large. No apple pie. It's tasty. No. Okay. Very good.
During breaks, he sorts out materials and also studies Japanese in the staff room.
Very bad.
He says that asking the other teachers about anything he can't understand is one way to improve communication.
Stroke order wa?
漢字は左から右でしょ?
Just the two first verses. So I'm going to read it.
There's another thing Jonathan is always careful about.
Which words rhyme? Rhyme, yes. The other thing that new jets should be aware of is paid holiday. So we have a good provision on the jet program for paid holiday, which is wonderful because you can get to travel around Asia or you can get to travel around Japan. It's no problem. However, I would also strongly urge all jets not to take advantage of that situation to the detriment of their school, to the detriment of their team teaching partners.
After school, Jonathan, who is very keen on sports, often joins students' club activities. He thinks this kind of activity is another good way to get to know the students better. Sometimes in the evening, Jonathan's Japanese friends from the village visit his home. He makes an effort to communicate with local people through playing games like this.
Life after jet? I'm not entirely sure what I will do when I leave Japan, but I do know that I will stay within the teaching profession, because what I've realised is that I love working with children, and being on the jet program has given me that opportunity. Also, having had my time here in Japan, I know wherever I go in life, this has given me a wonderful experience.
Wow, he seems to have it all together.
He is serious and enthusiastic about his job and makes the most of his time in Japan. Ideally, what we want for all jets.
Wow, life in Japan. There's a thought that's probably giving more than a few new jets sweaty palms. What will it be like? What to expect?
Certainly, life in a big city is going to be different to life in a small town. Now let's take a look at Erika, Vivian and Tane, 3 current jets who live in 3 different regions of Japan.
This is the town of Sakai in Gunma Prefecture. Surrounded by fields, it has a population of about 32,000. Erica Hubbard is a third-year ALT living here. She mostly cooks dinner herself. Even small country towns in Japan have at least one large supermarket like this.
If I can't make food or I'm tired, too tired to cook anything, I can come across to the grocery store, supermarket, and they have a lot of food that's already prepared. They have everything here.
There are also sure to be shops near you where you can get all daily necessities at a reasonable price, including tableware and cooking utensils. So there's no need to bring anything from home with you.
There are many foreign food stores, and you can find them even in your local supermarket. A lot of things that I thought, I had to have that had to be sent from America, they actually have right here.
A 1-hour ride on the express train from Tokyo brings you to Mito in Ibaraki Prefecture, a city with a population of 250,000. Cities of this size all have excellent public transportation systems, including trains and buses, as well as many cultural facilities such as art museums, department stores, fashionable shops, and all the other features of urban life. Vivian Lung, a second-year CIR, is working in the international division at Ibaraki Prefectural Office.
My name is Vivian Lung. I'm a second-year CIR from Canada. I work at the prefecture office in Ibaraki Prefecture, Mito City.
When she's not working, Vivian likes to go shopping or meet friends over a meal. She tries to pick up the latest information about the community in order to deepen her understanding of the city and the local people.
This is my apartment. It's a one-room apartment. There's the kitchen and the bathroom, and the toilet is actually all separate. This is my living, bedroom, and working area. It's small, but it has everything I need. So, the thing I don't like about this apartment is, unfortunately, it's small as well. My kitchen, I can only cook something simple. Unlike other people who have bigger apartments, they can invite friends over, where for me, it's difficult to have people stay over just because of the space.
Now let's visit Tane Sage, the third-year CIR living in Fukuoka Prefecture in the south of Japan. Katsuyama is a small town with a population of 7,000. Tane lives in a Japanese-style wooden house. Let's take a look inside.
It's been very good to live in this house. As you can see, it's got the shoujo all over the place, so it's got plenty of open space, and you can always close it so you can have some separate space. It's very practical. It's really nice to have at least one tatami room if you live in Japan, so you can enjoy the Japanese lifestyle. As you can see, sitting on the mats and practicing your seiza. I can think of one thing that you definitely, under no circumstances, shouldn't do, and that is walking in your shoes in the house, and especially never do that on the tatami. It's just like breaking all the rules, and you can be sure that the gods will punish you if you do that.
You may have the impression that eating out in Japan costs a lot, but that's not necessarily true. This is a kaiten sushi restaurant, where you can enjoy many types of sushi at a reasonable price. Tane loves sushi and always visits this restaurant on the weekend. He enjoys going out to eat many kinds of food besides sushi, but he says there is something you should be careful about.
When you go to a restaurant, you would probably want to make sure that this is something that you actually can eat before you order. And that would apply even more to home visits. So it's rather okay. Most people will understand if there is something that you can't eat. You can always think of a good excuse, like religious or allergy or something, if you don't want to eat it. But it's good to say that beforehand and not just start eating and then, oh no, I don't want that.
In places where the public transportation system is limited, some jets ride motorbikes or drive a car. If you have an international driver's license, it may be possible to use it for up to 1 year after your arrival. Beyond that, it's necessary to acquire a Japanese driver's license. Whatever kind of vehicle you use, it's vital to understand the Japanese traffic regulations.
I look in my mirror a lot because there are a lot of streets that don't have signals and they have these mirrors. And sometimes it's really difficult to see around those mirrors. So I have a tendency to constantly looking around and making certain before I proceed out. So my biggest fear is having like an accident in Japan, but I'm pretty cautious about it.
It looks like the number of tests and paperwork you have to go through to get a Japanese driver's license is different for different countries.
That's right. Just because someone you know was able to get their Japanese driver's license easily doesn't mean you'll be able to. Make sure you read the section in the GIH on obtaining a driver's license in Japan.
And speaking of driving, this would be a perfect opportunity to mention that drinking and driving in Japan is an unbelievably bad idea.
Definitely. The acceptable blood alcohol level for driving in Japan is 0. This means that even if you have the merest sip of alcohol, it is illegal for you to get behind the wheel of a car. Also, you need to purchase additional auto insurance in case you're ever involved in a traffic accident.
Next, let's change gears and look at a traditional and fun part of Japanese culture, the festival.
One highly recommended and enjoyable part of life in Japan is participation in a local festival. Every town and village in Japan has its own unique local festival. The festival day is a time for everyone to take a break from everyday life and let their hair down. The period from summer to autumn, when new jets arrive in Japan, is the time when many festivals are held. It's the perfect chance for you to get involved in your local community. The village in which Jonathan lives has the traditional festival with a history of 350 years called Yanagida Taisai. After 8 o'clock in the evening, the sound of drums and flutes echoes through the village.
This festival, the Yanagida Festival, to me is very special, but it's a very small festival. But it's nice because every little neighbourhood has their own little party, like this. And these are just some of my very good friends, and they've invited me here to join along with them.
Festivals and alcohol always seem to go together. You may even be treated as a special overseas guest and offered one drink after another. This may be a good chance to get on good terms with local people, but it can also be dangerous for your health. So please, be careful not to drink too much.
Don't drink alcohol. You have to make it very clear from the start. That would be my advice. And anything else that you don't want to do.
Drinking is part of Japanese culture. However, if you are uncomfortable with drinking, politely let those around you know that. Don't feel like you have to drink in order to fit in.
The best way to fit into Japanese culture is by getting to know people. And the best way to get to know people is by studying Japanese.
Before you come to Japan, you may think Japanese is a rather difficult language to grasp. But it's well worth facing the challenge and making a positive effort to learn as much Japanese as possible. People around you will be happy to help. It's a great pleasure for Japanese to know that foreigners are making an effort to study their language. And the more you know and understand, the easier it will be to get along in Japan, both at work and in your spare time.
Remember, the key to a good jet experience lies in how much you put into it.
Finally, let's end with some words of advice and encouragement from Jeremy, Vivian, Sue, Tane, Erica, Macy, and Jonathan.
I wonder what they'll say. Let's start with Jeremy.
4 months since his arrival in Japan, Jeremy looks completely used to his school.
Future jets, watch out, Japanese are crazy. No, not really. Please don't be scared to ask your teachers, ask anyone in the community, anything you need to know. They are a little bit shy, but if you ask them, they will help you. They're more than happy to help you, so please talk to your teachers.
When you come to Japan, keep a positive attitude. You'll be meeting lots of new people, you'll make new friends, there's going to be lots of new experience. Try to enjoy yourself, and this is a lifetime opportunity, so just relax and have fun.
Make sure that you know what things are important to you, where your boundaries are, where your comfort limits are. Make sure you stick by those and that you don't ever feel that you're compromising the person that you are.
If you ask me about advice for the new jets, I would say that would be 2 words: patience and persistence. That will definitely help you to get through what you want and be very successful.
There's a famous Japanese saying, Ichigo Ichie. It means one life, one chance. Do all you can do to make certain that your experience here is as pleasurable as possible.
To have a good time in Japan, just remember that culture surprise never ends, and every day you will experience something new, and that's what makes this country great.
I will never regret having come here. It's made me a better person. It's made me relate with people better, communicate better, and see how other people live. It's just a fabulous experience. I would just like to say to anybody coming to live in the countryside here in Japan, look at it. It's beautiful. Come on, you're going to have a great time.
We hope you've gotten a better feel for the life that awaits you in Japan on the JET program. Remember, if you ever have any questions or problems during your time here, there are always people who can help you.
Like us at Claire, don't hesitate to call and talk. We'll do our best to point you in the right direction.
See you soon.
In Tokyo.
Bye.
Bye.